I think it's time that we start the webinar, and we have all of you join us today to talk about important compliances in GST for the closure of financial year 2022-23. To take this webinar, we have Bimal Jain live with us to give his inputs and his expertise on the tips and tricks that you can follow for a proper closure of your books for the financial year 2022 and 23. So I know most of you might have known Bimal ji before, but for the few of you who'd like to know him a little more, here's a brief, description of Bimal ji. He is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India since May 1994, and member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India since December 2006, along with a bachelor's degree in law. He is a qualified SAP financial control consultant and has more than 21 years of experience in indirect taxation and specializes in all aspects of GST, service tax, VAT, CST, central excise, customs, foreign trade policy, SEZ, EOU, and export-import laws. He has working experience of more than 18 years in renowned companies like LG Electronics, Honda Motorcycle and Scooters, Hindustan Development Corporation, Khaitan and Company, and presently he is the executive director of A to Z Taxcorp LLP, a boutique indirect tax firm. And in addition to this, he has also earned a lot of awards and recognitions. To list a few, it will be keynote speaker at Guinness World Record made by ICSI in largest taxation lesson on GST, attended by 4,500 plus participants, breaking earlier record of Japan. Business Leader Award from Amity School, Noida. Best Speaker Award from NIRC, ICA, ICWAI. Young Achievers Award at Igniting Minds 2015. Best Participant Award in MSOP 117th batch by ICSI. And we have been doing a lot of webinars with Bimal ji. This one is for the month of March. And we are very sure that Bimal ji is going to keep all of you hooked up to this webinar. You're all going to be in the edge of your seat answering and responding to him. So I hope this session is very helpful for you to close your books with Bimal ji's advices and expertise. So over to you, Bimal ji.
Good evening, Sunny, and good evening to all the participants joining Pan India. And that too on a very important topic, important compliances in GST for the closure of financial year 22-23. So meaning thereby April 2022 to March 2023. So before I start, I will request each of the participants that they should have a paper and a pen or pencil ready with you. And second, that while doing the deliberation, I am going to interact with all of you. So feel free to answer in a chat box so that you can also judge yourself whether you know the answer of a particular question which I'm going to post to all of you. Hope you all are going to, answer those queries and thereby gain knowledge. And I always say that sabka saath, sabka vikas. Having said that, what is important that we would be doing it in such a way that I will go a little slow so that understanding is clear. I know my audience is mixed audience, those who are very energetic, dynamic tax professionals of all age are joining this webinar. So I will little go slow so that you can capture each of the points which I'm deliberating during my webinar today. So before I start, almost 4:30. So without any further delay, let me start with, and definitely, yes, if some query which is not being answered during the webinar, you may park and pause. We will take up those queries at the end of the webinar. So we will have open house question answer session. And therein we will take your query and try to resolve your query, whatever you have in your mind from GST perspective. We will also do one interplay of GST provision versus income tax provision for the closure of financial year 22-23. So this is going to be most interesting webinar for understanding SEC. I will pick up a lot of important pointers from GST perspective, which is required for the closure of financial year 22-23, but importantly, I'm going to discuss some of the GST provision which is really impacting day in, day out for our GST compliances as well. So that is important again. So without taking much time, let me have one yes in a chat box. Are you all ready with the paper and pen ready? So write down yes in a chat box and let me get it started. Okay, so my audience is almost ready. All the dynamic participants are ready. So let me start with. So in GST, there are two pillars from the perspective of one is the outward supply and another one is your input tax credit. So my discussion of today's webinar is centered around on these two broad components, outward supply and the input tax credit. And then third part would be other compliances as required to be. So first of all, we are going to discuss outward supply. So as I said, and I would be looking for your handmade note. You'd be preparing your handmade note basis my discussion today. And I'm going to share my number with all of you. And I want to see who has made a very good note. And rest assured, the person who is making very good note, I'm going to publish with his name on my Twitter handle account. So let's catch up. This is appreciation for the best participants of this today's webinar. I hope all of you will try to make as good as possible. So let's get started. So first of all, outward supply. In GST, any registered person is doing what? He's filing GSTR1 and GSTR3B pertaining to outward supply, and which he's cross-checking and reconciling with his books of accounts. Then we come GSTR 9 and 9C, which is annual return and reconciliation statement, which is year-end activity and due on 31st December 2023 when I talk about financial year 2022-23. So keeping this in mind, we have to start and understand. When we look at outward supply, then there will be three bucket. The first bucket, outward supply of 22-23 is being shown in the financial year 22-23 in the books of accounts, shown in GSTR1 also, and shown in GSTR3B also. So the first bucket, outward supply of 22-23, shown in the books of accounts, GSTR1 and GSTR3B in 22-23. If this is the case, then this is the best ever case. So first bucket. Second bucket would be outward supply pertaining to 21-22, which some transaction which you would be knowing that there are outward supply of 21-22, but you may have shown some transaction in the period April 22 to October 22. You must be recalling table 10 and table 11 of GSTR 9. When you are filing your 9 and 9C for financial year 21-22. So there may be a case that some outward supply of 21-22, but you have shown in a period April 22 to October 22. So there may be some total. When you look at your outward supply pertaining to 22-23. So this bucket need to be created separately so that you can identify how much outward supply of 21-22, which you have shown in the financial year 22-23, but period is April to October 22. Third bucket, and which is yet to happen, that some outward supply related to financial year 22-23, but you have not shown in your 1 and 3B, and maybe you're going to show that transaction in April 23 to October 23. I hope I'm clear to all of you. So there are 3 buckets created. And why 3 buckets created? Reason is very simple, that we have to identify outward supply pertaining to 22-23. So please, you say in a chat box that this part is very clear to all of you. Say yes, so that I can proceed next steps, so that everyone is aligned with me. Perfect. And why it is required? That this is required for my preparation of 9 and 9C for financial year 22-23. So everyone is saying yes, so I'm proceeding further. Now, second task. You have to do reconciliation. First, reconciliation of your books of accounts, your GSTR1 and GSTR3B. When I'm talking about reconciliation of outward supply, then you must keep to your mind that any credit note and debit note which you are raising under GST will have implication on your outward supply. So you have to reconcile your outward supply as per books of accounts, GSTR1 and GSTR3B. Second take, you have to make reconciliation with your eBay bill, books of accounts, GSTR1 and GSTR3B. Why I'm saying so? What is the reason? Why I want you to make reconciliation? That eBay bill, as per the provision, you know, any registered person who causes movement of goods having consignment value more than 50,000, he has to generate eBay bill. That may be pertaining to supply or even other than supply. So maybe you have generated eBay bill pertaining to supply of goods, and there may be a case there's no supply, like job work. Goods are being moved on delivery challan, but eBay bill is generated. So you should have reconciliation prepared. How many eBay bill you got generated? And then reconciling the same with your outward supply, and other than your supply which is being made, reconcile with books of account, GSTR1 and 3B. Let me take your two tests. I said having consignment value more than 50,000, right? When you look at this 50,000, in some of the state, this limit is otherwise also specified, like 1 lakh. So I'm not referring to, but you have to look at this particular limit. When I say consignment value 50,000, whether this is inclusive of GST, CGST, SGST, IGST, and cess, or exclusive of, when you look at this 50,000 criteria, inclusive or exclusive. So you can write down in a chat box, inclusive or exclusive, so that I get idea. Okay, a lot of you are inclusive, lot of you are exclusive. And my answer to all of you, please go back and check rule 138. It is talking about inclusive. So 50,000 should be looked at from inclusive perspective. Second, let's assume I'm supplying exempted goods by notification number 2/2017. So I'm dealing in exempted goods. Do I require to generate eBay bill when I'm moving these exempted goods by notification number 2/2017, say yes and no. So a lot of answer yes and no, right? Rule 138, sub rule 14. Please note down these provision. You need not require to generate, except de-oiled cake, except de-oiled cake. So I'm giving you some food for thought. So apart from reconciliation, which is required for the closure of financial year, you must know the provision. I hope I'm clear to all of you. Say yes in a chat box that you got my point, that we are not discussing only closure. We are discussing something important from GST perspective. All right, all right. So first, eBay bill. Now, coming to the next part. There's e-invoicing provision. And you know e-invoicing is made applicable with a threshold of aggregate turnover 10 crore or more from 1st October 2022. Let me first tell you the provision, then I will take your test. And why I'm saying so? Because proper reconciliation required. E-invoicing generated, match with the books of accounts, match with GSTR 1, match with GSTR 3B. It is importantly required. What is the e-invoicing provision? You know, from 1st October 2022, sorry, 1st October 2020, it started with a threshold of 500 crore. 500 crore aggregate turnover. In any preceding financial year, starting from 17-18, in any, I'm telling you, 500 crore reduced to 100 crore, 100 to 50 crore, 50 to 20 crore, and 20 to 10 crore from 1st October 2022. And it is expected that from 1st April 2023, it is going to be 5 crore. So aggregate turnover crossing 5 crore in any of the preceding financial year, starting from 17-18. And e-invoicing provision is applicable. Let me take your test so that I can tell you the provision later. Let's say you are a person and your aggregate turnover is more than 10 crore and you are supposed to generate e-invoice, unique invoice reference number, but you have not generated. There may be a fault on your part. So I'm going to ask you 2-3 questions. You have to give me answer one by one. You're supposed to generate e-invoice, you did not generate. You have only raised tax invoice, normally which you were generating earlier. Is it non-compliance, penalty leviable on you? Say yes and no. Say yes and no. Penalty leviable? Yes and no. Yes, penalty leviable. Second question. You are supposed to generate e-invoice. You are just supplier, you were supposed to do that. You did not do that. And I got only normal tax invoice. I'm a recipient, buyer from you. I got normal tax invoice from you. Can I avail credit on the said tax invoice, which is otherwise to be e-invoice with unique IRN number? Say yes and no. Can I avail the credit? Please tell me. I can't. I can't. As a buyer, I can't avail credit. Rule 48, sub rule 5. If you are a supplier and you're supposed to generate e-invoice and you have not generated, you have given me only tax invoice, which is not e-invoice with the unique IRN number, QR code embedded, digitally signed, that as a buyer, I can't avail credit. Yes, we may go back to a question that how as a buyer I would be knowing that. These are the separate question. But for a buyer, it is important to avail credit only on the basis of e-invoice. Third question. Let's say I'm dealing into exempted supply. Exempted supply. Do we require to generate e-invoice for exempted supply? Please tell me yes and no in a chat box quickly. Yes and no in a chat box. Need not required. Need not required. It is only for B2B. B2B taxable supplies. B2B taxable supplies. And any debit note and credit note pertaining to B2B taxable supplies. And it is also required for export. So this is what you should keep to your mind. And certain entity are being kept out from the provision of generation of e-invoice, like SEZ unit, insurance and banking financial services company, GTA, passenger transportation services, multiplexes cinema admission. And one question which is again important, let me ask to all of you. I said B2B taxable supply, but if it is B2G, I'm registered supplier and raising invoice to the government entity. Do I require to generate e-invoice? Please tell me. B2G taxable supplies. Yes, required. G2B is not required. G2B means government local authority and governmental authority raising invoice to business need not required. So keep to your mind. So I'm not discussing e-invoicing here, but I given food for thought that you are required to make reconciliation. Now, having said that, I have seen on e-invoice portal, and just I'm asking to all of you, and please, let's say you were supposed to generate e-invoice, did not do last 15 days, you forgot. Or maybe last 2 months, you did not generate e-invoice, but you were supposed to do that. Can you upload such invoice on IRP portal and generate IRN number, unique IRN number, possible or not possible? Say yes and no. Okay, lot of good answer in a chat box, but listen very carefully. Listen very carefully. As per section 31 of CGST Act, I should have generated my invoice on or before removal of goods. And for services within specified time period, before or after 30 days. But IRP portal as on date is not having inbuilt mechanism. They are not barring. They are not stopping you. You can raise your invoice which is pertaining to 2-month-old, 3-month-old. IRP is not stopping you. But as per section 31, you were supposed to do that. So those who have not complied with, they must do it. Because for your buyer, e-invoice is a real invoice for availing credit. I hope I'm clear to all of you. Please tell me in the chat box, am I clear to all of you? Say yes in the chat box. Am I clear to all of you? Perfect. So my team is really going fine. Having said that, listen very carefully now. Listen very. So I said reconciliation to be done. Now, next question which will come, that what you need to look at when you're generating your invoice, HSN code and SSC code. For HSN code for goods, SSC code for services, you must be recalling a provision from 1st April 2021. And what is the provision? If any registered person having aggregate turnover less than 5 crore in a preceding financial year, then he is required compulsorily, mandatorily for B2B supply quoting of 4-digit. And for B2C, it is optional. Next question, what happen if aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore? Then what happen? What is the compulsory? How many digits need to be quoted while generating invoice? Tell me in a chat box. It is compulsorily 6 digit, whether it is a B2B supply or B2C supply, compulsorily. But you'd be knowing that IRP is even picking up 4 digit as on date. But they have issued instruction very recently that they are going to notify that if your aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore in preceding financial year, then compulsorily you have to quote 6 digit, and they will create the mechanism on IRP portal, which is presently you can follow 4 digit also. So from a date. So be careful, you have to. First part, if it is import and export, how many digit compulsory? 4, 6, and 8. Write down the answer in the chat box. If it is import and export of goods, how many digit? Please, I'm looking for 8 digit, 8 digit. And for some of the specified goods like chemical, they have clarified and notified that how many digit compulsorily to be quoted. Please tell me. 8 digit, 8 digit. So keep this provision in mind. And why this quoting of HSN code and SSC code? To correctly determine the classification and corresponding GST rate. It is high time. You must go back and visit and check whether you are correctly picking up the HSN code and SSC code. The instruction which is being issued by GST Common Portal, they are saying if your aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore and if you don't find 6 digit code while generating e-invoice on IRP, then they want you to pick up 8 digit code, so that you correctly determining classification and corresponding GST rate. So this webinar, I'm highlighting that you must ensure that your classification and rate is correct. So that is how you have to follow this HSN and SSC code. I hope I'm clear. Say yes so that I will move to next point. Say yes in a chat box quickly, because I've got a lot of things today which I have to do. Please carry on. Okay. Perfect. Now, having said that, then comes whenever you're determining outward supply, your credit note and debit note plays important role. So you're a supplier. You have shown a outward supply of, let's say, 100 rupees. But for some region, you may require to issue credit note. And what are those regions which is prescribed under section 34? There are 4 regions prescribed. Either you have mentioned excess taxable value or excess tax rate, or for return of goods, or there is deficiency in goods and services. 4 regions are stated under section 34 for issuance of credit note. Simultaneously, you must be recalling section 15 subsection 3 clause B, post supply incentive, and that can again be done through a credit note concept. So this credit note, which is pertaining to 22-23, what is the last time limit? I'm asking you all for issuance under section 34 subsection 2. Please tell me what is the last date. So see, I'm finding different answer in a chat box. Different answer, right? Which all of you can see by yourself. As per section 34 subsection 2. And if you look at the last year budgetary changes, right, Finance Act 2022, from 1st October 2022, 1st October 2022, this time limit age, earlier of the two, 30th November, which is 30th November 23, or date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier. So first this part, but next part is very interesting. See, if you're a supplier and I'm your buyer, recipient, you're issuing me a credit note under GST, then for sure, I'm not going to legal debate, but for sure, for the October 2023 GSTR1, you must capture, and the due date for monthly filer would be 11th of November. And those who are invoice furnishing facility or quarterly filer, 13th of November. So that the corresponding transaction get auto-populated for recipient in a GSTR2B, because that is important for recipient to avail credit. So that is the reason I'm referring April to October, April to October. I hope I'm clear to all of you. Please say yes in the chat box. At least I get a clarity that you got this point. This point is clear to all of you. Perfect, perfect. So, okay. All of you, perfect. All right, that is how I upset. Now, I'm taking one test. This is the credit note under GST, right? And what is the impact of credit note? You all know about it, right? There's a concept called financial credit note, which is outside the GST and having no GST implication. If you are a supplier, you are issuing a financial credit note to me, which is called commercial credit note to me, then you will not adjust your GST component with your outward supply tax. You will not as a supplier. And as a buyer, I need not require to reverse any credit when we talk about post-supply incentive. Financial credit note is also not having any time limit restriction as prescribed for credit note under GST. Please tell me, am I clear to all of you? I have created two bifurcation: financial credit note with no time limit and no adjustment with the GST, but credit note under GST with time limit and adjustment with the output tax in the hands of supplier and reversal of credit by the buyer. Am I clear to all? Say yes in the chat box. Perfect, perfect. So a lot of you have agreed. Now one more thing, debit note. My first question to all of you, I don't know how many of you know the answer, but let me check. Is there any time limit for issuance of debit note? Please tell me in the chat box, is there any time limit for issuance of debit note? And debit note could be, I was supposed to charge 110, but I charge 100. So there's 10 rupees extra I need to raise debit note. Any time limit? So no time limit for the debit note. No time limit for the debit note. Another test. Let's say there's some transaction of 1819. Some transaction of 1819. I was supposed to raise invoice for 200 rupees. Or maybe 200 rupees invoice I have raised. Listen this way. Raised. But there's escalation. As per the escalation clause, I'm entitled, as a supplier, I'm entitled to raise 20 rupees differential escalation invoice. So debit note I'm raising today on today's date, 28th of March 2023, pertaining to 1819. So let's say my original invoice date was 1st January 2019. Listen very carefully first and then answer. Original invoice of 200 rupees, 1st January 2019. Escalation clause. Now today I'm raising debit note. Today is dated, which is 28th of March 2023. For availing credit, time limit to avail credit as per section 16 subsection 4. Are you going to look at with the original invoice date, which is 1st January 2019, then time period is gone? Or you're going to look at current date, which is 28th March 2023, which is given on the debit note. Please tell me which one is applicable. Debit note date, current date, always current date. And this provision got changed from 1st January 2021. This provision got changed under section 16 subsection 4 from 1st January 2021. So very well done. So my all the participants has understood it. So this is pertaining to outward supply, but now what are the important aspect? There's some transaction which is still disputed, and there's the issue going on, and we do not know what to be done and what not to be done. So there may be non-compliances pertaining to that. One is cross-charge versus ISD, input service distributor. ISD as a concept, we all know that being head office, let's assume I'm procuring a lot of input services, which is related to a particular unit, say A, or maybe related to my common 4 unit A, B, C, D. Then of course, if I'm procuring some input services, which is not related with my head office, but related to the unit A, then I will distribute the credit in same month to that relevant unit A, recipient unit. If it is related to all 4 common, then by pro rata turnover basis, I will distribute the credit to my 4 respective recipient unit. This is the concept of ISD. And ISD, they have said your eligible credit and ineligible credit both need to be distributed. Both need to be distributed. So this is the ISD concept. So in ISD concept, there is no concept of supply made by head office. It is only procurement and distribution to the respective unit. Say yes in a chat box. Say yes in a chat box. That this part is clear to all of you. Say yes, so that I will come to the cross charge then. Okay, very well done. So my audience is perfect. My audience is aligned today. So that is very interesting that audience is getting all the pointers. Very well done. What is cross charge? Cross charge means supply of goods or services between distinct person. Distinct person means I'm having 4 registration under 1 PAN number. So we are distinct person as per GST law under section 25 of CGST Act. Or related person, and related person is defined under explanation under section 15 of CGST Act. So there is a supply of goods or services between distinct person or related person in the course or furtherance of business, even without consideration. Entry to Schedule 1, deemed supply. Deemed supply. So this is being argued, discussed, and we are debating. I'm a head office. In my head office, CEO, CFO, common HR, accounts, IT team is there. Now this HO, all managerial personnel are sitting in HO. I'm having 4 other registration, distinct person on the same PAN number. The first question which is disputed and debated, whether HO is giving any services to the branches registered separately. First question which is being debated, and we got advanced ruling Columbia Hospital, Asia Hospital, Cummins India Limited, and they have said they're the deemed supply concept. They're the supply. For goods, stock transfer of goods. In pre-GST era, stock transfer against form, no VAT, no CST. But in GST, we all know from one distinct person to another distinct person, stock transfer of goods, GST liable, but for service, it is disputed. A lot of us may not be following this cross-charge provision, but we all are looking for the clarity, first part. But as per the provision, it is deemed supply. Second question comes, if it is deemed supply, what would be the valuation? All right, Rule 28, CGST rule. And Rule 28 says it should be open market value, like, kind, and quality, 110% of cost of provision, or residue method. So they're saying you, as a supplier, you should follow this rule. Two provisions they have mentioned under Rule 28. One is, as a supplier of goods to my recipient having separate GST number, I can follow a concept of 90% of selling price of my recipient unit as my transaction value for raising invoice to the recipient for supply of goods. Second provision is very, very interesting. And it is saying if a recipient is entitled for full ITC, full input tax credit, recipient, then supplier can pick up any value in its invoice for cross charge, and that would be considered as a deemed open market value. So I can pick up any value which would be deemed open market value as per second provision of Rule 28. But we are finding dispute and litigation has started in the trade. And we are getting now so-called notices, and some of my client has also got so-called notices that no, you can't pick up any value, even though second provision is permitting me. So that is subject to litigation, but in my considered opinion, any value picked up by the supplier when recipient is entitled for full ITC would be deemed open market value. Third problem which is coming out is, if it is exempted sector like hospital, education, then what happened? This cross charge become whammy, that I need to charge GST but recipient will not get credit. And then this second provision of Rule 28 is not applicable. So what would be the valuation? Total cost. Whether this total cost will include salary cost also. Salary which is kept out of GST entry 1 schedule 3, but that become double taxation. So those are bigger debate, bigger litigation. We may discuss sometime later, but look at your business model and check whether there is cross charge, and when there is cross charge, there must be element of service. Element of service. And ISD is nothing but only distribution of credit. So I'm not discussing further, but want to have post one query. Do you agree that you may require to take both registration as a ISD, because you may have some input services procured for some other unit, and you may require to be cross-charge also, supplier of service. So there may be a situation. Please tell me, possible? Yes and no. Yes, to my mind, looking at the business scenario, it may be. So I'm not concluding anything looking at your business factual position, but yes, it may be required. Can you do that only taking ISD registration or only taking cross-charge? Please be careful, be careful. I'm not advising you. You need to go back and check everything and then determine. These are the big issue. Coming to the next broader issue, there may be fixed asset in your company on which you have availed GST input tax credit. Let's say laptop. You have availed the ITC. Now, after 3 years of usage, you are donating to NGO. No consideration. No consideration. Whether GST leviable, say yes and no in a chat box. Say yes and no in a chat box. Yes, entry 1, schedule 1, permanent transfer or disposal of business asset on which you have availed ITC. If you supply even without consideration, deemed supply. So next question, if it is deemed supply, what would be the GST component you'd be paying? Section 18, subsection 6 of CGST Act. And it would be higher of 2. So input tax credit availed by you on a laptop should be reduced by 5% per quarter or part thereof. So period of usage, you must reduce by 5% criteria per quarter or part thereof. Or GST on transaction value, whichever is higher. You have to go and check this provision. For mold, dice, fixtures, they are saying transaction value. So tax on transaction value. That is the section 18, subsection 6. Hope I'm clear to all of you. Hope I'm clear to all of you. So this was pertaining to business asset, fixed asset. Tell me in a chat box, am I clear? Say yes, at least एक बार अच्छी तरह से, so that I really, okay, perfect. My audience is very, very good. My audience is genuinely good today. They are really capturing all the provision, and this is the most interesting part. Thanks. Okay, now listen another part on GST input tax credit. Nidhi, schedule 1, entry 1. Read with section 18, subsection 6 of CGST Act. Repeat nahi karane ka. Time is spot. Lot of things I need to complete. So please allow me. Okay, listen now carefully. Now on GST input tax credit. Similar way, as I said for outward supply, you have to create three bucket. You have to check the credit in your books of accounts, right? And you have to reconcile with your GSTR 2B. 2B, I did not say 2A. You understood, right? I will tell you a little later. 2B. And credit availed in GSTR 3B. And you have to keep in your mind that this data need to be bifurcated on input service, and capital goods. You need to have capturing now credit pertaining to input service, and capital goods. Keeping in mind, you're going to file your 9 and 9C. You have to create three buckets. Credit pertaining to 22-23, shown in 22-23, one bucket. Credit pertaining to 21-22, but shown in a period April to October 22. So there may be spillover effect, need to be bifurcated. Third, credit of 22-23, but shown in a period April 23 to October 23. So three buckets need to be created. Credit must be separately identified for input service, and capital goods. You must be recalling table 12, table 13 of GSTR 9, read with table 8, and then the bifurcation as need to be provided in table 6, table 7. So these are relevant for GSTR 9, which you must be recalling, and that is how this three bucket need to be created. Am I clear to all? Say in a chat box. Say yes in a chat box that this part is clear to all. This part is clear to all. Perfect. So very well done. Very well done. Now listen. Second important aspect, this reconciliation to be done with GSTR 2B or GSTR 2A. We all know GSTR 2A is a dynamic credit statement, but GSTR 2B is a static credit statement. We have to keep watch on both credit statement. We have to keep watch. But for importance sake, if I talk about credit availment, credit to be availed, whether GSTR 2A is a relevant document, tell me yes and no for availing credit. Do I require to match GSTR 2A? There may be a case, you all are writing no, very well done. You all are writing no, I'm agreeing with all of you. That being a supplier, you may have shown B2B supply as a B2C, and you did not correct within the time specified. You have wrongly mentioned GST number of your recipient. It was interstate supply Delhi to Tamil Nadu, but wrongly furnished as intrastate. Or maybe as a supplier, you have paid the taxes through 3B, but did not file GSTR1. Lot many challenges. So it might not be auto-populated in GSTR2A for the buyer. And time period specified for rectification under section 37 also got expired. So you could not correct as a supplier, you could not correct also. You could not rectify also. But dispute lies. So for availing credit under section 16, subsection 2, initially there was 4 conditions. Buyer must have tax invoice, must have received goods and services, his supplier must have paid taxes, and being recipient, you are regularly filing GST return. 5th condition got introduced from 1st January 2022, 1st January 2022, which is falling in the financial year 22-23. That it must be matched with GSTR 2B, not with GSTR 2A. Hence, legally, we can always defend ourselves that GSTR 2A is not relevant. Bharti Airtel Supreme Court judgment, 2A is only facilitation. We can always rely, but keeping in mind, 2B becomes important now. 2B becomes important. And there may be many situations where you have to do reconciliation. And reconciliation can be two-way. Internal, what you have to do, and external, what you have to do. External means you have to reach out to your supplier and you have to speak to your supplier. When you will go back and reach out to your supplier, you may have tax invoice. You have received goods and services also. You have paid the taxes to your supplier also. You are regularly filing GST return as a buyer, but you did not find the entry in GSTR 2B. It is missing. Can you avail credit? You can't from 1st January 2022. So you have to go to your supplier and tell him, boss, this transaction is not coming in 2B. Please correct it. This is the external action which you need to take. I hope you got my point. An internal action could be that it is coming in 2B. Let's assume it is coming in 2B. And you may have taken in your books of accounts. I'm creating one example so that you can all understand. Let's say your supplier has raised invoice on 28th March today from Delhi to Tamil Nadu. Your supplier has filed GSTR1, assumed, auto-populated for you in 2B for the month of March. You got the invoice also, and you have booked this invoice in your books of accounts also. So while doing reconciliation, you will look at the transaction in books of accounts. There, you will look at 2B. It is there in the month of March. But for availing credit, are you going to avail credit in March or April? Let's say you receive these goods on 5th of April. So are you going to avail credit in the month of March or April? Of course, April. Of course, April. So this reconciliation need to be done. It is internal. It is not dependent on your vendor and supplier. Internally, you have to do everything. You have to check your missing invoices. Let's say it is coming in 2B, but there's no invoice with you. You may have to check out internally where this invoice is, whether invoice is having correct taxable value and tax charged, properly HSN code, SSC code is being mentioned, so that tomorrow it is not being disputed by the department. Hope I'm clear. Please say yes in a chat box. Please say yes in a chat box that you got it. All right. Thank you. Thank you. You got it. So you got this part well. Very well done. Now, what are the things which you need to do, which is a separate activity? There are certain reversal of input tax credit, which you have to do by yourself. And none is watching you. But when audit comes up, any anti-evasion party comes up, or DGGI comes up, they want you to get these details. First, it's second proviso under section 16 subsection 2 of CGST Act, read with rule 37. If recipient fails to pay consideration, including tax component, within 180 days. So I'm your supplier. I've raised the invoice for 10 lakh plus 18% IGST. You as a buyer recipient fails to pay within 180 days to your supplier, then you need to reverse credit along with interest. All right, there are certain questions now. This is now internally captured reversal under rule 37. Question could be, when this proviso, second proviso, is not applicable for schedule 1 transaction, RCM transaction, when we do valuation part, supplier liable but incurred by the recipient. All this video available on my YouTube channel. You can go back and check those videos as well. Where there is a part payment, so as against 10 lakh, you have paid 5 lakh rupees, only part reversal. So this provision is known, and you must be knowing that. There are certain disputed transactions like retention money. Some money is being retained by the customer for the performance. Is it non-payment? Hence reversal is required. These are the debated point in the trade. To my mind, no reversal required to the extent of retention money. It is only adjustment of accounting entry. So to my mind, for retention need not require for the reversal. There may be force majeure clause or not having force majeure clause, but we have agreed for extended credit time period. Extended credit time period. Then recipient is not said that he fails to pay. When we agreed extended credit term, 1 year, can we say recipient fails to pay? To my mind, we can't say. So that is what first part of legal provision. Second part, we are saying interest liable. So if interest liable, what is the rate of interest? 18% or 24%? Tell me, 18 or 24? 18%. 18%. And this you should keep to your mind. This is the rule 37. Coming to now rule 42 and rule 43. Here I'm giving you one good way to look at. For availing credit, you should always prepare 3 bucket. Today I do not know, 3 bucket is becoming very important. So maybe you can say today's webinar by tagging 3 bucket. For availing credit also you must have 3 bucket ready. GST input tax credit related to your taxable supplies, you must take 100% credit. So you first look at your ITC, and this ITC must be bifurcated into 3 components. Related to taxable supply, 100% credit. related to exempted supply, then you should not avail any credit. Second bucket. Third bucket becomes you got common ITC that may be related to taxable and may be related to exempt supplies. Then rule 42, which is reversal of common input tax credit on input and input services. Rule 43, which is capital goods, commonly for taxable and exempted. Pro rata reversal need to be done. Pro rata reversal. So keep in mind 3 bucket related to taxable 100% credit, related to exempted no credit, only common ITC. Pro rata reversal. And you need to reverse over a period of time, April 22 to March 23. So you're provisionally reversing, assuming the numbers as coming at the month end. But when you're finalizing your books of accounts on 31st March 23, let's assume provisionally you reverse 100 over a period of financial year, but you are supposed to reverse 120 as per your finalization of books of accounts. So 20 rupees reversal extra supposed to be done, which may be pertaining to some portion April 22, May 22, June 22. But now you got that 120 need to be reversed. So this 20 extra need to be reversed. What is the date? By 31st March, by 30th June, by 30th September 23. Please tell me in the chat box. 20 to be reversed by what date? That's the important aspect. So there is Raja saying 30th March, some Birinder Patidar is saying November. Rule 42, 43 says September 23. But for really compliance sake, they are saying if it is not reversed by 31st March, then interest is leviable. Then whatever provision says 30th September hold no good. If you want to save your interest, then you have to reverse by 31st March, meaning thereby in GSTR 3B of 31st March, which is due to be filed by 20th April 2023. You can go back and check rule 42 and 43. I hope I'm clear to all of you. I got different answer. I was sure that I'm going to get different answer. That is the reason I picked up this query and enlightened to all of you. Hope I'm clear. Say yes in a chat box. Yes in a chat box. Perfect. All right. So this audience is really today really dynamic, and they're getting so much. Okay. All right, Preeti. Then you should go back to your credit ledger and check whether you have availed eligible credit. There may be a case that you may have availed ineligible credit because that is being blocked under section 17 subsection 5 negative list. There may be a situation in financial year 22-23 you may have not noticed and you have availed a credit which was not available to you because being ineligible. 17.5 you need to reverse. And what could be example of which is required under negative list? All the provision like personal consumption. 17 subsection 5 clause H is the prominent one. Goods lost, stolen, destroyed, or written off, or disposed of by way of gift or sample. So this is the prominent provision we have seen. 17.5 clause C and clause D works contract goods or services for construction of immovable property other than plant and machinery. Prominent example. Credit is not available. Though we are disputing safari retreats from 17.5C and 17.5D, which is yet to be decided by Honorable Supreme Court, even 17.5H, we are also having challenges. So some of the challenges could be I have purchased the gold. I'm a manufacturer gold coin to give it to my distributor and dealer on achievement of their milestone for the turnover. Is it really a gift? We can always debate. There are certain ruling going against, and we can always say it is in the course of furtherance of business. It is my obligation which I promised to my distributor and dealer. It is not gift. I'm not giving as a voluntary. I'm giving as a condition to myself. Sales promotion. So we can always check 1+1 transaction. एक के साथ एक free. There's nothing free. Transaction value is having combo offer. Lot many things we can discuss. CSR, corporate social responsibility, which is the change in this budget, finance bill 2023. They are saying credit not available, but that should be prospective. That cannot be retrospective and yet to be notified. So those are the parameters need to be seen properly. So you have to go back and check your e-credit ledger. Eligible versus ineligible. There may be lot many questions today, only on 17.5. But this webinar is focusing, my only submission, this webinar is focusing on GST compliances. We can discuss at length, but I've given food for thought. So you have to really go back. Let me take one or two tastes on 17.5. You are finding sometime government department coming and saying you are not supposed to take this credit. You need to reverse this credit, being ineligible. So two situations will come up before you. You also agreed now that this is not eligible. You have wrongly availed the credit. So you have wrongly availed the credit. You agreed for the same. And now you need to reverse. So there are two possible situations. Reversal of credit without utilization and reversal of credit with utilization. Tell me reversal of credit without utilization, whether interest is leviable. Say yes and no in a chat box. No interest. Reversal, but after utilization, interest leviable. Say yes and no. Yes. What is the rate of interest? 18% or 24%? 18% or 24%? Please tell me in the chat box. 18% or 24%? 18%. 18%. Retrospectively from July 1, 2017. Retrospectively from July 1, 2017. Hope I'm clear to all of you. Clear to all of you. Another question. Sometime department comes and they demand reversal. And reversal could be under section 73, which is non-fraud cases. Right? And there may be some tax demand, something like that. And sometimes they fix up the liability, adjudicate the liability under section 74, 129 and 130. 74 fraud cases, 129 detention of goods, 130 confiscation. Then they're saying in such cases credit, if it is being recovered, cannot be availed. 74, 129 and 130. So you need to be careful pertaining to these provisions as well. So I've given this food for thought. Next part. Time limit under section 16 subsection 4. We all know time limit for availing credit. As per amended provision with the last year budgetary changes effective from 1st October 2022, earliest of the two date, 30th November or date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier. You all know that, right? From 1st October 2022. And there is clarification also that this extended time limit 30th November applicable for financial year 21-22. So quite obvious for 22-23 is also applicable. But my question to all of you, I'm becoming your supplier and you all become my buyer. you need to avail credit in your GSTR 3B. Let's say for October month GSTR 1, October 23 GSTR 1 supplier duly filing by 11th of November, monthly return, invoice furnishing facility by 13th of November, which is auto-populated for you on 14th of November 23. But let's say I'm a monthly supplier, I did not file my GSTR 1 of October month by 11th. I filed only on 13th of November. Otherwise, I'm a monthly filer. Can you avail credit? Say yes and no in a chat box. Can you avail credit? Say yes and no in a chat box. I was sure that I would be getting mixed answer. I was sure. मुझे मालूम था. I was aware of that you will give me the mixed answer. See, for availing credit now, you need to match with GSTR 2B from 1st January 2022. If a supplier who is supposed to file GSTR 1 by 11th of November, if he did not file, then it is not going to be auto-populated for you on 14th of November. It is not coming in your 2B. Can you avail credit? Can you avail credit? Just think on those lines. Then you can't avail. So your supplier must be tax compliant. Know your supplier. That is what you have to keep to your mind. Hope you got this pointer for clarity purpose. Coming to the RCM, reverse charge method. Under reverse charge, you as a recipient pay the GST liability, right? You pay the liability. As per time of supply provision. Time of supply provision 12 subsection 3 for the goods, 13 subsection 3 for services. And reverse charge, there are two reverse charge criteria: specified goods under 4/2017, services 13/2017. But my question to all of you, which is important, there are specified goods, assume specified goods under reverse charge. You as a buyer need to pay reverse charge liability. Let's assume I'm a GTA. Let's make it different so that you understand this example well. I'm a GTA, I'm a registered. Let's assume I'm a registered. And I'm filing GSTR 1 and ticking for RCM liability. So I'm raising my invoice because I'm registered GTA, ticking my GSTR 1 subject to RCM, for which you will pay RCM liability. And let's say transaction of 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. You did not pay RCM liability. You want to pay in financial year 22, 23. You have to pay, there's no choice. Liability of 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, you have to pay along with interest as per time of supply provision 13(3) of CGST Act. Only question, can you avail credit? When your supplier is registered, GTA registered, he has raised the invoice, section 16 subsection 4, can you avail credit? For registered supplier, you can't avail credit. Had it been unregistered supplier, listen very carefully, had it been unregistered supplier, then you can avail credit by raising self-invoice to yourself under section 31 subsection 3 clause F, read with rule 36B. Self-invoice you'd be generating to yourself, you'd be paying the tax, and self-invoice the eligible document which would be current dated, maybe pertaining to 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. You can avail credit. At your end, it would be non-compliances, 125 penalty going to be levied, but credit is available when you procured from unregistered supplier, and that is subject to, for specified goods or services, reverse charge liability. Hope I'm clear to all of you. Hope I'm clear to all of you. Please tell me at this in a chat box, sir. Within quick 2-3 minutes, you have explained this transaction well, and we got it. All right, perfect, perfect. So hope clear, perfect. So this is time limit. Pertaining to lots and installment, sometime you purchase a goods and that is coming in a lots or installment. That is not coming at one go. So maybe you have ordered the goods, the goods are having voluminous in quantity, and they are being supplied in a shipment basis, installment basis, lot. So you may have received the first lot, second lot, third lot, but last lot you received, let's say on 28th March. And maybe 10 lots you have received in January and February month of 23. Can you avail credit until you receive the last lots on 28th March 2023? So last date would be 28th March 2023. Keep it to your mind, 28th March 2023. Perfect. And another component and a very interesting one, and which is pan-India disputed, pan-India confusion. I'm your supplier, and listen very carefully for 22-23. I'm your supplier. I raised the invoice, let's say on April 22, 10 lakh IGST. You as a buyer did not pay to me. You as a recipient did not pay to me. And this question I'm asking in the context of, listen very carefully, I really want, it is googly for all of you. Let me see who is the person. And I've said I'm going to share my mobile number, who is making good handmade note. I'm going to publish the same on my Twitter handle account, due recognition to his name. I do not know how many of you are preparing today, but I will wait for that, your handmade note. So listen this part and give me the answer. I raised invoice on 15th April 2022. 10 lakh, 18% IGST. You did not pay to me. And this is being asked, keeping provision in a mind, section 16, subsection 2, clause C, where supplier fails to pay. Read with section 41, subsection 2, which is provided from 1st October 2022. Read with Rule 37A. Rule 37A. So keep all these three provisions in conjunction and keep to your mind and answer me accordingly. You did not pay to me since April 2022. Can you avail credit? Can buyer, recipient avail credit? And 180 days criteria you must be knowing, right? Can you avail credit? Please tell me. Can you avail credit? Yes and no. Okay. Okay. Most of the answers are coming no. There was one Sanjeev who gave some answer to me. And listen very carefully. Listen very carefully now. What Rule 37A is saying, you can take provisional credit. You can take provisional credit. Only condition is your supplier must pay the liability through GSTR 3B. Listen, I've connected two questions here and you should not misjudge. I connected two questions here and you should not misjudge. Let me put it once again so that no confusion around. No confusion around. You have to listen very carefully so that no confusion, because looking at your answer, I'm finding some confusion is existing. So एक बार फिर से. First you write down in a chat box yes. Write down in a chat box yes. कि फिर से एक बार मुझे लगेगा we are starting afresh. Yes. Starting afresh. Okay. All right. Now listen. Okay. Now listen. I'm your supplier. And we have to keep provision section 16 subsection 2 clause C read with Rule 37A with reference to 41 subsection 2. Listen very carefully. I'm your supplier. You're all my buyer. I raised the invoice for 10 lakh plus IGST 18%. I asked the question, can you avail credit? For you availing credit available, only criteria is you must pay within 180 days. That is what the criteria for you. And this provision is separate, second proviso under section 16, subsection 2. Keep it aside. Park it somewhere else. So keep it. I'm your supplier. I raise my invoice in April 2022 in GSTR1. Auto-populated in your 2B, but as a supplier, I did not pay the tax. Did not pay the tax. You may have paid the tax amount to me. As a buyer, you may have paid the amount to me. But I did not deposit. I did not file my GSTR 3B. Now the question starts. You as a buyer has paid the amount to the supplier. Supplier did not pay. Can you avail credit from April 2022? First question, say yes and no. Can you avail credit? This is the question, right? Okay. Now we are going on a right path. As per Rule 37A, you can avail credit. You as a buyer can avail credit. Only condition is your supplier must pay this tax through its GSTR 3B by 30th September 2023. Rule 37A is saying your supplier must pay this liability by 3B 30th September 2023. Then whatever provisional credit you have taken, it is as per the Rule 37A. If your supplier did not pay by 30th September, then you as a buyer and recipient must reverse this credit by 30th November. And reversal will happen through your GSTR 3B by 30th November. This is what the provision, new concept and new way to look at the provision. Now they are saying it is along with interest. So there are two questions which is coming out. If you reverse by 30th November with the interest leviable, in my humble submission, no interest. If you reverse by 30th November 23. But if you reverse thereafter, then interest is leviable and rate of interest would be 18%. And whenever the supplier pay this tax, then whatever reversed by you by 30th November 23, you may re-avail the credit. That is what the Rule 37A made applicable from 1st October 2022. Now, please say in a chat box, you got it, you understood it, please. Please say yes in a chat box that at least you got it. It is clear. Okay. Perfect. So my audience, I said, if you reverse by 30th November, no interest. It is only thereafter. All right. Thank you very much. Now coming to some RCM liability. I said RCM is applicable for specified goods or services. Let me ask one question which is prominent I normally get. You purchase certain goods or services. Let's say you purchase some goods which is not falling into notified, notification 4/2017, or which is not falling into specified services 13/2017 from unregistered supplier. Whether RCM applicable, because that is not falling into specified goods or specified services, but you procured from unregistered supplier, whether RCM of 9(4) is applicable, not applicable. From 13th of October 2017, not applicable. It is only applicable for real estate player, real estate sector from 1st April 2019. 1st April 2019. It is only for the real estate sector. Yes, Benoji, you are right. You perfectly said. So Priyanka is also there. I agree with all of you. Now for specified services, you must go back and check whether there is import of services, advocate, GTA, payment to government, payment to director, whether RCM is applicable or not. I took one example that 1st January 2019 RCM, which you did not pay, right? as on date till 28th March 2023. RCM to be paid in cash. Whether interest is leviable, please tell me yes and no. Whether interest is leviable, say yes and no. Yes, leviable, 18%, 18%. And RCM and interest both to be paid in cash. At least RCM credit is available pertaining to past years if it is from unregistered supplier. But from registered supplier, notified goods and services, then time limit, section 16, subsection 4, going to be applicable. So keep to your mind. Now there are certain other compliances. You must make a note of it very quickly. For GTA, there are mechanism 12% forward charge by GTA or 5% reverse charge. So if any GTA want to follow 12% criteria with forward charge mechanism, he has to file Annexure A by 15th March 2023. If he want to follow for 23-24, right? But what happened? He could not do that by 15th March, which he was supposed to do that. What to be done? There is nothing prescribed in the provision anywhere. I'm giving you in my humble submission. You may always go back, write a letter to your jurisdictional officer intimating certain problem that may be technical glitches, that may be realistic problem, citing that you could not submit Annexure A by 15th March. But you want to follow forward charge 12% GTA. Write a letter, intimate to the authority, jurisdictional authority. To my mind, that may take as compliances. At least you have come forward before the year end. For following GTA forward charge at the rate of 12%, say yes in a chat box. At least those who defaulted and having no option, something which can be done. Am I clear? All right, thank you. So a lot of you are now saying yes, so that is a very good part. Okay, all right. Second, LUT, letter of undertaking for export of goods and services. It is only barred for such taxpayer who are being prosecuted for an offense for an amount involving more than 2.5 crore. Otherwise, you can follow LUT route. So LUT without IGST. So you will claim refund of input and input services as per Rule 89, right? What is the last date by when you should file your LUT? Please tell me what is the last date for LUT? 31st March. 31st March. Please, 31st March 2023. QRMP, quarterly return monthly payment. Those who are having aggregate turnover less than 5 crore, QRMP. You have to opt for it, right? What is the last date? What is the last date? 30th April 23. 30th April 23. Perfect. Okay. Last component of the today's webinar. Last component. There are certain things. 5%, Sudhir, 5%. Listen now. Listen. Certain interplay of income tax versus GST. Clause number 44, form number 3CD. Last year you have seen for 21-22. But for 22-23, now you need to. You need to look at your total expenditure. Total expenditure, capital and revenue. Capital and revenue, both. And that expenditure when you are procuring from registered supplier or unregistered supplier. These data need to be captured for filling of your form number 3CD, please, for 22-23. And you know what data you have to capture when certain expenditure from a registered supplier, certain expenditure from a non-registered supplier, certain expenditure pertaining to exempted goods or services. And exempted means either nil rated or exempted or non-taxable supply, or you're procuring from composition dealer. And last category, that you are procuring from other registered entity. So this 5 bucket. So we were discussing 3 bucket, 3 bucket, 3 bucket. Now here income tax interplay with GST for capturing expenditure, debit side of your PL account. You need to bifurcate procured from registered, unregistered, exempted, composition, and other registered entity for income tax purpose. Last and foremost, for any fake invoice, false transaction, we know inspection, search, seizure, and arrest in GST. Corresponding penalty provision under section 271 AAD. You have to be very, very careful. So I'm not discussing today, but giving food for thought. So I could, summarize all the pointers, which is very, very important for all of us together. But 2 or 3 more points, then I will conclude my today's webinar. If you are getting some TDS deducted by your customer, TCS in case of e-commerce operator, then you should reconcile your outward supply, and whatever TDS deducted by your customer or TCS by e-commerce operator, it must be credited to your e-cash ledger, which is available, which you can utilize with your output tax liability. But in case there is accumulation, you can go for refund. That is possible. An option is made open that is available as a refund. You must reconcile your all credit ledger, CGST, SGST, IGST, compensation cess separately headwise. You can't make it consolidated, separate headwise. Similarly, your e-liability ledger, CGST, SGST, and that too GST wise. Let me ask one question. There's some credit of SGST in UP registration. Can you use this SGST credit for discharging output tax of SGST of Delhi? I'm talking about credit. Not possible. That is the reason I'm saying headwise, and that too GST wise. But any e-cash ledger, some balance in e-cash ledger, of course, that is now being permitted to be transferred to other GST number, PMT09. PMT09. So that is possible. So I gave this particular things which is required your attention for compliances from GST perspective, some food for thought from income tax perspective as well. So mixture of all GST compliances for closure of financial year 22-23. I have completed my presentation. I've got 2 questions to ask, and I need your fair feedback and answers. How many of you have prepared handmade notes? Say yes. How many of you have made handmade notes? Say yes in the chat box. You made it. Okay, so many. So nice. Thank you. Oh, great. So I must give my mobile number to all of you. And I'm telling you, I will pick up one good handmade note, which I'm going to post on my Twitter handle with your name and number. Believe me. And that would be appreciation to all of you. Take down my mobile number first. 98 106 04 563 563. I given my number to all of you. So you send it to me. Feedback, suggestion, all appreciated. Constructive criticism also appreciated. I have tried my best within 1.5 hours, starting at 4:30 sharp. I'm at 6:05. I have tried my best to give you a good dose with lot of input, lot of variety on GST. I hope you must have liked it, right? Maja aaya hoga. You must have enjoyed this, right? So I've tried my best. I'm being told that Hasini has got some query today and she's going to post some query to me. So before Hasini start question answer session, I'm asking and requesting Hasini to take it forward now.
Thank you so much, Bimal ji, for this wonderful webinar. Everybody, I think, was very excited to answer and respond to all your questions. And yes, like Bimal ji said, you all keep your handwritten notes ready and please send it to him. And I'm also eagerly waiting to see whose handwritten note is getting published on Bimal ji's account. And
And and you should also tag Johor Books.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, sure, sure. So I have a couple of questions before I jump into the questions of all the attendees to Bimalji. And I want to know his expertise and his opinion on this. So we're talking about closing of books right now. And most of the time, migration is considered to be appropriate during the end of the financial year. They can migrate the data, and it's considered to be much of an easier process than doing it in the middle of a financial year. So, what is your thought on that, Bimalji? Now that government is stressing more on digitalization and how all of us should go online and all of that. What is your take on the importance of migrating during the closure of the financial year to a new online on-premise software?
my answer to you, Hasini, and to all the participants today. See, we have got a lot of options available whenever we look at ERP or accounting package, whatever we talk about, cloud-based, non-cloud-based, lot many things. And migrating from one software to another software, another challenge. In my humble submission, which is quite tested at my end, so I can endorse that you may give a try to Johor Books, that you can migrate from any accounting software to Johor. That is very easy task, first of all. And Johor provide lot of value added services in terms of digitalization, cloud based. Lot many features are available, and of course this team is available to each one of you in case you're having any doubt, query, or you want to ask anything from them. You can send a query to them. They will come back to you. So maybe Hasini, my answer to every participant is they may give a try, and I'm telling you it is tested by me, and I'm endorsing because I have tested myself. So something which I'm endorsing, you may give a try. So you can take the email ID of from Hasini pertaining to Johor, and that might help you to understand how to migrate and use the added feature and advantage with Johor providing to the users.
Thank you so much for that response, Bimalji. And I've launched a poll right now to take in your, queries. If you have data that you would like to migrate from QuickBooks to Zoho Books, then we have a dedicated team working to help businesses migrate from it. They'll help you end to end with migrating every single data that you've got on your QuickBooks platform to Zoho Books. So if you for your firm or for your clients, if you're requiring this service, you can go ahead and answer those polls, and our migration team specifically will get in touch with you to help you with this process. And so before I go to the questions of the attendees, I have one more question, Bimalji. So I think the recent audit trail mandated, right, and it's been extended to April 1st. So I see this as government mostly insisting people to go online, and in order to avoid frauds and to increase transparency. So that seems to be more of a reason for government emphasizing more on give audit trail feature being mandated on every accounting software. So what do you have to say about this, Bimalji?
It is way forward, Harsini. Now, audit trail is a basic need not only for the outside world but for internal MIS management. These audit trails are helping us to improve efficiency, to improve cost benefit analysis, and of course, giving all input that how things are happening. See, now government is developing their AI, and through their AI, they are getting a lot of inputs, and through those inputs, they are coming for inspection, search, and doing all investigation. Why can't we have something which is really providing us updated audit trail for our internal and external both purposes, and that will make our task easier. We have to move from unorganized to organized. Now, way forward is a digitization. Way forward is we have to have something with our system base. It cannot be manually driven. And e-invoicing, as I said, now going to be applicable from April 1, 2023 with the threshold of aggregate turnover 5 crore. We have to think on automation, digitization, and those are the way forward if we want to see success in our business. Now, the mantra is let's adopt the digitization, let's adopt with the accounting and with any kind of package which is providing audit trail for internal digest and for external digest, so that whatever need to be corrected, supervised, managed can be done within time, and it is really manageable and controllable and doable from our side as a business person.
Thank you so much for that wonderful response, Bimalji. Now I'm not going to take more time. I think I got clarity on the two questions that I wanted to ask Bimalji, and all your fellow colleagues and fans are waiting to get your questions answered. Yes, Bimalji.
Just one question, Manju. Singh has asked when my latest GST book is coming in the market. GST Law and Commentary. Touch wood, by God grace, our whole team is working on this GST Law and Commentary book, 8th edition. Keeping all finger crossed, by God grace, I'm sure you will find this new 8th edition GST Law and Commentary book in April 2023. So look forward, and sure we are working hard. Whole team is working hard. My appreciation to my whole team. I'm also naming them we got Ashish, we got Kesav, we got Rituraj, we got Sib, we got Pradyuman, we got Savita, we got Asna, we got Sanket, we got Puskar, we got important tech person Rohit also. So the name I'm not forgetting, but they all are putting their efforts for this 8th edition of GST Law and Commentary. By God grace and blessing, I'm sure it will be in April 2023.
Thank you for that update, Bimalji. So to add to this, we have worked with Bimalji for all these 10 webinars together, 10 plus webinars together, and for every webinar, lucky 5 attendees have been given Bimalji's the same GST commentary book as a lucky draw, and people have been appreciating it a lot. Specifically, the language used in the book, which is very simple and very easy to understand, just like how his webinar deliverables have been. So for this webinar as well, lucky 5 attendees will be shipped Bimalji's previous edition of GST commentary. So you all can stay awaited. Wait for our email. The lucky 5 attendees are going to get this. So can we proceed with the questions, Bimalji?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right. So I'm going to take this question and project it on the screen. If you have any questions that you want to ask Bimalji, please post it in the questions section so that I can pick it up. This one is from Arpita Modi. She is saying PAN is inoperative from 1st April 2023. Who did not link the PAN with Aadhaar? Is it affected to GST registration, as GST registration is totally dependent upon the PAN?
Arpita, good news is this date got extended, and we have posted this news on our Twitter handle also, 30th June 2023. So get it done ASAP.
All right. So next question is, we have one from Mr. Rahul Sethia, and he says, sir, RCM paid on legal fees, but later on bill cancelled or amount reduced. Can RCM refund be claimed?
Yes, undoubtedly, Rahul, possible, doable. Definitely, yes.
All right. We go to next question from Mr. Karthik. Karthik says, sir, can we claim ITC on RCM paid for sponsorship services?
If it is related to your business in the course of furtherance of business, and unless it is barred as per section 17 subsection 5, I don't see any challenge. So you just go back and check that it is in the course of furtherance of business and not barred specifically under section 17 subsection 5. Karthik, you can avail credit.
All right, let's move on to the next question. This is from Mr. Raja. Raja says, if we are reversing IPT due to non-payment of consideration to suppliers while filing GSTR 9, whether we can reclaim the IPT in my next GSTR 3B return.
So reversal part, I will suggest, Raja, you could have followed GSTR 3B of the relevant month, reversal of the same. But once you pay, you can always re-avail the credit. There is no challenge per se. So even though you have reversed through GSTR 9, but you are still entitled, but make sure the corresponding transaction is being captured in GSTR 3B. Raja, hope I'm clear.
All right, so this is not a question, but I'm going to project this anyway. So we've got Mohan here. He's thanking us that he received he received your book from Zoho, and he is one of our selected lucky winners. So happy to have a lucky winner here with us.
So congratulations, Mohanji, and I'm sure with the efforts and initiative of Joho, we are trying our best. I must say, we are trying our best to create, and this is the facilitation we are trying together, Joho with Bimal Jain.
All right, so let's move on to the next question. This is from Mr. Abhishek. Abhishek says, as you said, if RCM from unregistered person for financial year 2017 to 18, paid in financial year 2022 to 23, and department said that paid through DRC 3, then how can I claim input?
Don't pay Abhishek through DRC 03. Go with the normal route of GSTR 3B, and for you, eligible document would be self-invoice, payment voucher, and you can avail credit. Department always will object to it, and they will try that this credit is not available to you. But as I said, for unregistered suppliers subject to RCM, self-invoice by recipient of the eligible document, and you follow a route of GSTR 3B that is most prominent, most acceptable one. That is what you have to be careful about.
So next question is from Sakshi. Sakshi says e-invoice for exports made without having the details of SB. When we made the amendment on the GST portal, the tagging of e-invoice got removed. How to deal with this?
Sakshi, for this you should really, put your complaint on GST portal, IRP, related help desk. They will help it out, because this is related to the system related things which I can't answer. But raise the query and keep this query with you. Keep the complaint number, which will help you if tomorrow something goes wrong. You can substantiate that you have highlighted this to the authority which was not resolved by them.
Right,
Sakshi, hope you got my answer.
Yeah, so let's take last two questions here. This one is from Bhuvana. Bhuvana asks, sir, can IGST on imports be availed even though it did not appear in GSTR 2B or sometime not fetched by search of BOE facility?
Bhavna, you can definitely do that. And I've got video on this GSTR 2A, 2B, and I've discussed this component also in such videos. You can go back to my YouTube channel and watch my video. But to answer your query, yes, it is credit available, even though not getting auto-populated, because transmission is not happening through iSkate.
So let's take the last question from Mr. Narasimhan. He asks, should I raise a credit note to decrease my GST liability if the customer is not paid?
Narasimhan, it is all depending on the commercial transaction, and corresponding reversal also to be done by the recipient and buyer. Please, one-sided activity sometime is not advisable. So please see what is the best way forward. Take communication, discuss with your buyer and recipient, and then amicable. This is one of the way you can always think of.
All right, so I think we have a lot of questions, but if you want Bimalji to respond to all your questions, you can post it on his Twitter account and LinkedIn account. He's very active on social media, and most of your queries will be answered by viewing his YouTube videos. He keeps making YouTube videos on all the latest amendments that keeps happening in the accounting and finance domain. So today, thank you all for joining, and Bimalji, thank you for making this webinar special again. I think this was very informative for all our participants here, and I can see how excited and how hooked up they were for this webinar the entire time. So thank you so much, Bimalji, and thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you, Harshini. Thank you, Joho Books, and thank you each one of you. Take care of yourself and wish each one of you a great new financial year coming up from April 1, 2023. God bless all of us together. With this, see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.